All right. My name is Elton, and these are my coworkers, and this is the Coworkers Podcast. All right. So, um, a little behind the scenes. I don't know if I'll put this in or not, but I did forget to press record. I only have the video recording of it, not the audio recording of it. So, yeah, so I had this idea for 2 or 1 year now, and I never, I never went through with it, and then the name finally came to me, the title of it. So I took this idea and I just ran with it, and I was like, you know what, I like this idea. Let me get all the stuff. So we're all coworkers here. We all sell cars together, and we're just gonna introduce ourselves and talk about how we got started in the car business. Um, yeah, we all sell cars together, and from my knowledge, we've all been selling cars for a few years now. Um, so yeah, I was 19 years old, or actually I was 20 years old. I had a $16,000 car loan that I bought in Wyoming. I visited Wyoming to go work there, and I was raised in Vegas. I was born in Wyoming. After high school, I went to Wyoming. I got a car loan that I don't know how they got approved, and now selling here, I know how they got it approved. They did some stuff, which I don't think I can disclose on here.
What were you doing for work at Wyoming?
I was just selling. I wasn't selling. I was working at Four Seasons. I was a house person. So if
Okay.
someone needed like soap, I would go over there to them. If the housekeepers needed bed sheets, I would deliver it over to them. I was just like a delivery boy almost.
Okay.
Um,
At
so
a
then,
hotel?
yeah, the hotel it was a Four Seasons hotel. So it was nice. Like the place there, they treat their employees very well. It was really nice, dude. And, like anyone who works there is definitely happy. Um, so I went there to Wyoming. I bought a car. I got bored of Wyoming because there's nothing there, and I was very antisocial. I wasn't outgoing as I am now. So I got bored of Wyoming. I came back to Vegas. I was just scraping by, making no money, just all the money that I had saved up. Um, so I was sitting in my room, or literally laying down on my floor, my carpet floor, and I saw a YouTube video of this guy whose YouTube channel is Dave B Sells Chevy. So when I saw those videos, I was like, wow, like this guy makes it seem so easy. He wouldn't vlog the sales process of it, but what he would do is he would basically show, like, okay, this customer came in for this. He had 10 G's down. He wants to be at 400 a month. So I put him on this car. And he would just explain what happened in that deal. And I was like, wow, this seems really easy. And once he said he was making six figures, he had no college degree. I was like, dude, let me try this because I don't know what I want to do. I need to pay this car. Um, so I watched a bunch of car sales training videos, and I saw that um, it was very easy. It sounded very easy, and they talked about if you want to get a car sales job, you got to go to every place down the road. You got to go inside, talk to a manager, get hired. So that's what I did. I went here in Vegas. There's auto malls, so you
Yeah.
go down one street all the way straight down. There's a whole bunch of dealerships left and right.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I went to every store. They all blew me off except for Infinity Store. They just asked like, hey, like do you know about Infinity? I was like, yeah, my dad drives one. I was bullshitting them, and and he was like, yeah, what kind of Infinity does your dad drive? I'm like, I don't know the model, but it's a SUV, and anyways, like that interview didn't do good, and they ended up not calling me back at all.
Dang. So you didn't
Um,
really have like a brand that you wanted to work for, right?
no, no,
When you were looking around.
I wanted to work for Toyota, but I was just trying to take any job I can get because my car payment was coming up.
Yeah.
So I went to the last place. It was called Chapman Dodge, and they were very nice people there. Same thing. The lady just told me, "Hey, here's a paper. apply online, and I went home and I was like, damn, like I didn't get any interview. I don't think anyone's interested in me. And then I head up. I used to go to church a lot, and the pastor's kids. One is the finance director at Toyota, or she was. I think she's doing her own thing now, but she was the finance director at Toyota in Centennial. And then one of the sales managers was over there at Chapman Dodge. So I messaged both of them. I'm like, hey, I really wanted to get into car sales. Are you guys hiring? And what's crazy is that they told me like, uh, um, the finance manager at Toyota was like, oh no, we're not. But hit up my brother. He's telling me, um, he might have people. They might need people. They usually do need people over there. So he replied to me. He's like, "Hey, well, we're not hiring right now." But he was like, "But we do need some lot porters." So I was gonna be a lot porter
And that was at what dealership?
at Chapman,
Chapman.
at
Okay.
Chapman Dodge. So I went to the website and I applied for lot porter. And I for some reason I also applied for salesperson. And a week or two goes by, and I'm just kind of like, oh man, it is what it is, you know. If I get law porter, then I'll just work my way up, and then I get a call from the hiring manager, and he's like, hey, are you still interested in being a salesperson? I was like, oh shoot, like I thought he was gonna say law porter. So I was like, yeah, yeah. And he's like, when can you come in? I was like, next. I was like, I can come in tomorrow. So I came in the next day, and I met up with him. He like talked to me, and I guess he liked me enough to introduce me to the sales managers. But the thing with Chapman Dodge is that they have two dealerships. They have one on Sahara and Mojave, and they have another dealership right around the corner on Sahara and Boulder Highway. It's called the Ram Truck Center. So I went to that one. I talked to the closer there, who was a really nice guy, dude. Like I owe a lot to him because he was very nice to me. And he was like, "Why do you want to sell cars?" And I was like, "Well, when I was working at the hotel, um, basically, if I bust my butt and I work hard, I'm still gonna get paid as much as the person who is
Right.
doing nothing or who's just doing their job. So yeah, you might get like a hey, you're doing a good job here, good job there, promotion, maybe a little raise, but it's like, like I just saw what was happening. I saw this one dude who was just busting his butt. He was like everybody liked him. I was still getting paid as much as him.
Yeah.
So I guess he really liked that answer. And he was like, "Yeah, bro. Like, yeah, this job, you just work hard and you'll make a bunch of money." So I was like, "Yeah, all the videos I've done, or the research I've done, and all the videos I've seen, this like resonates with that, and that's something I'm interested in." So he was like, "All right." So he went to the tower, and for those who don't sell cars, the tower is where all the sales managers are at, the ones who work the numbers on the deal. And it's usually either a island in the middle of the showroom, or it's like inside a little office, and they all work with each other. They're all next to each other. They have teams. So I met my sales manager, and the sales manager is like I'm sure he'll be watching this because he's still I have him on Instagram, and I owe a lot to him because he really did change my life. I went over there. I talked to him. I said like, hey, like I really want to sell cars. He's like, well, what are you gonna do when you get here? Yeah, I already did a bunch of research. I said, well, I'm gonna make calls. I'm gonna make appointments. Once I have appointments set, I'm gonna go outside, try to get a customer. He knew I had the drive, even though I had nothing to I had no sales experience,
Yeah.
barely any job experience, and he was like, "Let me ask you something. How much money have you ever made in a month?" And realistically, I only made like 2 grand in a month, and that's because I got some Travis Scott ones that are like really rare. It's like this rare shoe, and I sold that shoe for like 2 bands. But I was trying to seem like I was someone, so I was like, like 4 grand in a month. He's like, oh really? How'd you do that? I was like, oh, I just sold sneakers. He's like, oh okay. He's like, imagine you make double that at this store, and if you make double that, you're considered an okay salesman. And I was just like, dude, what? Like in my mind, I was like, no way.
You kind of blew your mind right
Yeah,
then and
yeah.
there,
And then he was like, all right, buddy. He's like, well, we're gonna have you come in tomorrow. We're gonna get you started, like paperwork wise. And he's like, we'll teach you how to sell cars. And he's like, the only problem you're gonna have here at this dealership is that the government is taking too much money out your taxes. And as soon as he told me that, I was like, dude, like I was so pumped. Yeah, I was so pumped. I was like, oh my god, like I can't.
The best feeling too.
Dude, I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my god, I like so yeah. That's how I started. I came in and started selling cars, and my manager, he helped me out a lot too. A lot of people didn't. When I first started, a lot of people didn't think I was gonna make it. Like literally, like any of my coworkers, they were like, "Yeah, dude, I thought you were gonna get fired in like the first 2 months." And then my first month, I sold 4.5 cars. I made like 4 grand. My second month, I sold 8 cars. I made 5 grand, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger from there. And that very first year, I made like 115,000, 120, somewhere around there. And that changed my life, and that was crazy.
Yeah, and usually jobs that pay that much too, you kind of need more requirements than just like, I guess, the mentality of wanting to get it,
Yeah.
You need a diploma or like, certificates and stuff like that. So it's a good feeling, when you're able to make that much money without having to need all of that.
Yeah, and I was 20, bro. So I
Yeah.
literally all I had to do was pay my car bill, and that was about it. And I was like, dude, this is so much money.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Question: when you worked at the Four Seasons, did you run into any weird people when you would bring stuff to their rooms?
Oh, it's crazy. I did. So one time, okay, so this is how the procedure goes. When they order something, you grab the stuff, you go to the room, you knock. If they don't answer, you knock again. If they don't answer, you wait 5 more minutes and you knock again. And then you're allowed to enter, unless they have a do not disturb or do not enter sign, and they didn't have either one. So these people ordered like tea, honey, all this stuff, right? So I knocked 3 times. This person didn't get up. I opened the door, and this lady, all I can see is a mattress and this lady's feet hanging off the mattress. She was like a big lady, like she has some chunky legs. and I opened the door, and she was like, "What are you doing?" Like she was screaming at me. She's like, I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'm here to drop off the tea and honey." And she was like, "Just leave it at the door." And I was like, okay, and I just left. That's the only like crazy story, because most people who were there were really rich. They were either doctors or people who had money to spend. It was like $1,000 a night, so there wasn't like too many weird people.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Wyoming.
Yeah,
Bro, exactly.
yeah. You guys can start it off, or whoever wants to start it off.
All right, I'll go. So my name is Jason. I started in the car business late. I wish I would have started when I was Elton's age, but I started when I was about 33, 34 years old. What got me in the car business was not wanting to do physical labor anymore. I used to work in food distribution warehouses. So I used to grocery shop for grocery stores. Basically, like Chef Boyardee, instead of getting 1 can, I'm getting 24 cans. And I'm going as fast as I can. The faster you go, the more money you make. Got to a point where my body couldn't take it anymore. I can't jump, can't even get out of bed without hurting. So I saw an ad for BDC. I actually started in the BDC for a car dealership, and started in a Toyota dealership answering phones, and saw how easy it was. I wasn't really driven by money when I first started in the car business. It was weird.
What exactly is BDC for those who don't know?
So it's a business development center. It's basically a phone room where you call customers who inquired about, or potential customers who inquired about vehicles online, or they called in. You just follow up and set up appointments for them to come in and test drive the vehicles. So that's how I started. Basically, $12 an hour, $25 for an appointment that came in, $10 if it's sold. And we would get paid weekly. So it's not like here where you get paid twice a month, and we're lucky we get spiff. So we get paid weekly here too.
Yeah.
But in Connecticut, we get paid weekly. Checks weren't that, we're okay. It was probably like $200-300 less than working physical labor, but my body didn't hurt. It was good. And then one of my mom's friends said she was working at a Chevy dealership. She's like, why don't you do BDC here? So I did BDC there for about 6 months. They opened a pre-owned store, and this was a big Chevy dealership in Connecticut. It was located in Waterbury, Connecticut. And they opened a pre-owned store, and they said, hey, do you want to be an internet manager there? We're only going to have 5 salespeople. You want to go there? So this was, they told me in about January, I think, of 2015. So I was in BDC for over a year doing the stuff between the 2 stores. I went to the new store. We got there in March. I talked to the first 8 people I talked to, I didn't sell. And it was tough. It's tough. It's tough to learn how to sell cars if nobody's teaching you how to do it. And then April came. I ended up selling 8 cars. I made decent money. And then May came, and all of a sudden I was selling 25, 35 cars a month. I made $86,000 my first month from April on, and I got hooked. It's like I wasn't driven by money, but once you see those paychecks, the paychecks are so big where you're doing a direct deposit, it won't go through. You have to go in the bank. You're like, you got good money, you know?
That's a very common theme with anyone who has had success in the car sales is just you start seeing checks.
Yep.
And it just hooks you, which is
Absolutely. And I was able to buy my first house. Well, I've only owned one house, but the one and only house I bought in Connecticut, I got it really cheap. Like, it was nice back then. I got the house for like $130,000.
Oh my God.
It's like the size of the house I live in now here in Vegas. I paid almost $2,000 a month for. But yeah, in Connecticut, the mortgage was like $1,400. So it wasn't that much cheaper than here, but it was mine, you know?
Yeah. Dang. So how so you just started BDC and then they asked you to be internet manager and you just started selling cars from there?
Yep. So it was still in Waterbury, Connecticut. So it was a couple streets away from the big store. But they hired 2 people to work on the floor, and I did all internet. So that's how I was able to sell like 25, 35 cars a month. Was all the internet leads went directly to me, and it was pre-owned. So this is why I had a tough time learning how to sell new cars, was because it's the car or nothing, basically, with a pre-owned. Or you have a couple choices to show them, and I really wasn't trained to keep them there and find a car until they find the car they want. But I was like, I pushed the table.
No, you're good. You're good.
But yeah, it'd be like, hey, I got this WRX. You want to come in? I'd make the appointment. They'd look at it, and they'd be like, okay, I like it. And I knew how low I can go on the price. Like, they gave me a list.
Oh, wow.
So I made the appointment, and I would look at the list. They'd be like, okay, I like it. I know you're selling it for $23,900. If you get it to me for $23,500, I wish it was that low, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
$23,500, I'll do it. And I'll be like, let me go see. I go to the bathroom or something, and I would look at my list and be like, yeah, I think I could do $23,600, you know, try to keep a little bit of gross. But the grosses there were great. That's how I was making like $86,000.
Yeah.
Wow. Nice.
It's a nice, easy job.
What year was that?
15.
15? Dang, $86,000 in 2015 was a lot.
But that was only from April on. Like, and I only sold 8 cars in April.
And that's a lot. Your year to date, a full year would have been crazy.
Yeah, and I moved on. I did other positions, but here I've been just sales too. It's different beast here compared to the East Coast.
Yeah, you think it's harder to get promoted here in Vegas than it is over there?
Yeah, I think it is. I knew people on the East Coast, though. That's, you know what I mean?
Okay.
Here, I know nobody.
Yeah. All right. So my name's Eduardo. I actually got started in the car business in August 2019. And what actually led to that was I was working at Domino's. So I was there for like a whole year. And the first 6 months, it was just like customer service, right? It was just kind of making the pizzas, cutting them up, preparing them, and even talking to customers, taking orders. So I did that for 6 months. I got promoted to assistant manager twice, And during that time, it kind of like dawned on me like, this is a lot of work for the amount of money that I was making. And I was making around like $11 an hour. So, kind of like what you said, right? It was just like you were putting in so much hard work, but really, how much is it really worth if the person right next to you isn't putting as much and they're getting paid the same amount, right? The checks come out to around the same. So that kind of made me want to like venture out. And what brought me to car sales was that when I was an assistant manager, I had to get a car. So I was looking online, and mind you, I did not know how to buy a car at all. Like I was just looking at them, kind of like just searching up like what would be the good ratio for like based on how much I make versus how much my monthly payment should be because I didn't want to blow my whole paycheck. So I decided it was going to be around like $250 a month that I was going to be paying for my first car. So I found this car at a what is it? A Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram store. So me and my mom decided to go up there. So we go over there. We just walk in, and I'm like, hey, I don't know anything about buying a car. I just want to see this car. Like I was just oblivious to what I was doing. So he was like, okay, yeah, sure. So he sat me down, and he was like, hey, you know what? This car is sold, but I do have one that's gonna be a lot better, a lot newer, and I was like, all right, perfect. Like I'm game. Let's go. So I want to see it. So he actually drove me to this other lot that they had, and it was just like about like 5 minutes down the road. He showed me this Malibu that was a year newer. I think I came in for like a 2012. He showed me a 2013. We test drove it and everything, and dude, I fell in love with it, just the way he like presented it to me. He was like, it's newer, it's the same price. It doesn't have as much damage compared to the other one, and even on the test drive, he was like, give it some gas. I want you to really feel it. And so I was in the ether. I was like imagining myself driving to work. Just having my own freedom, right? Having my own car that I could go from point A to point B whenever I wanted. So when we got back to the dealership, um, he showed me all the payment options and stuff like that. And again, I was not in the mindset of even buying a car when I first, walked into the lot. But when I saw the payments and everything, even my mom, she was like, I mean, if you want, like, she left it all up to me. And I was like 18 at the time, with like literally a ghost, no credit. So luckily, again, good thing I had my mom there because I was like, all right, yeah, I'll do it. So I did the credit app. I gave him the down payment. Obviously, I didn't qualify because I didn't have enough down payment to even qualify for a loan um, because I didn't have any credit. So my mom actually co-signed for me. And next thing you know, I'm driving off with the car. And so that's what sparked my interest in car sales because it was like a week or 2 weeks after, like I was actually talking to a friend of ours, Mike. We were on Mike Frias, Michael Frias.
Oh yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So
For those who don't know, me and Eduardo went
yeah.
to the same high school, but we started selling. He started selling cars first, and then I started selling cars.
Yeah.
And we kind of knew about each other because we had each other on Instagram. But
Yeah, and we
but
had
go
like
ahead.
mutual friends and stuff.
Yeah,
Which
yeah,
was
but yeah, Mike Frias.
Mike. Yeah, so I was on a video game with him, and I was playing, and I kind of like told him the idea of like, hey, you know what? Like, I might do this whole car sales thing, just because of the way I'm the salesperson. Like, just showed me the car, and this process seems so easy, so simple. So I decided to actually hit up my salesperson that sold me the car, and I was like, hey, like I'm interested in car sales. Like could you give me any tips or what I should expect from it? And lucky enough, again, he was really nice. He actually reached back out to me. He told me what I should expect. Even what dealerships I should go for as my first dealership to be working at. And he was like, the one thing they're going to be looking for is just someone that's hungry, money driven, and just always looking to just better themselves. So I was like, again, I'm game. So I decided to go to, I think it was only Toyota that I decided to apply for. And I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks went by and nothing. And mind you, I applied online, right? So I got no response. So I decided to go in person to ask for a sales manager as well. And when I got there, this floor manager decided to just come up to me. And I was like, hey, I just want to go ahead and see if I could apply here. I want to be a car salesman. And then, like, out of nowhere, he just hits me with a question right off the bat. He's like, why should we hire you? Just straight up. with a serious face. I was like, I think I was kind of like in awe. Like I didn't have any words to say. So I don't know what I said, but it was good enough to where he said, all right, come back this day. I'm going to have you sit down to do a real interview. So I was like, perfect, let's do it. So I come back for a second interview. There was another floor sales or floor manager that interviewed me. And again, that went so well to where he got me a third interview with the GSM. And at that point, it was a wrap. He told me, "All right, are you ready for this?" He even asked me this one question. He was like, "You are going to be working a good amount of hours every day. Are you ready for that?" I was like, "Yeah, I've worked 40, 50 hours sometimes when I do extra work." And he was like, "All right, well, you may have to double that here." And I was like, damn, like I remember like I was like, dude, really? But of course, I was just all in my head. I was just like, all right, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it. So that's basically how I got started. And the cool thing is that even though we do put a good amount of hours into this work, like sometimes 10, 12, heck, even 14 hours sometimes, when I first started, it didn't feel like that. Because at Domino's, you're working 8 hours nonstop. You're either preparing something or you're in the middle of a rush to where you're just cutting everything up, always on your feet. So, I mean, car sales, sometimes you're just like sitting back, making calls and you're, see under AC. So it was pretty cool. It felt like the time or the day just went by super quick. And of course, that's just how I got started with car sales.
Nice.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It almost seems like whenever we first get started, we're like, dang, we're making this much money. We're not working physical labor, and just me hearing you guys' stories is like, it's kind of easy to get comfortable because, you guys have seen it from me where I'm like, I'm being lazy, and I'm just like whatever. But it's like it's easy to get comfortable in this business and not get us hungry just because of the amount of money that you can make. And I mean, I'm not sure about you guys, but when I started, I think I saw my cat somewhere. But I don't know about you guys, but I started when I started selling cars, it changed my life. I had $20 in my bank account. I didn't know what I was gonna do in my future. And then as soon as I started making, just 4 grand in 1 month off of 4 cars, I was like, dude, let's go. Like, you know what I mean? 4 grand. I've never seen 4 grand in my life.
Yeah, and one check.
Yeah,
One check.
yeah.
And the thing is that I didn't even go in there with the idea of like knowing how much I was gonna make.
Yeah.
Truth be told, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I just knew that I wanted to do something different than just like, Domino's.
Yeah.
So when I got my first check as well, dude, mind blown. Because I remember I made a pretty good deal to where I had a good amount of gross on a new truck, and literally no one wanted to tell me how much gross I made. Because they were like, just wait until your check, just wait until your check. You're going to be surprised. And then I didn't know what it meant, like gross or anything.
Yeah.
So when that check came, oh my God. I think I made what I would have made in Domino's like 3 months. I made in like 2 weeks. And I was like, dude, I'm so in, So it's just like that first check. When you see that much money, it just motivates you even more.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys, have you guys ever told about someone that like reminds me a lot, right? So I've had instances where I've been around my friends and they're like, dude, what are you doing? Like you're doing this, you're doing that. I see you just bought a new car. I was like, yeah, bro. Like I would just tell my friends, dude, just sell cars. And I was like, I made 8 grand this month. And then my friends would be like, dude, that's what I make in 6 months. I had that all, like I had people tell me that a lot. Like a lot of my friends, I'd be like, oh yeah, I made like, it was a slow month. I only made 5 G's this month. Like, dude, that's how much I'm making 3 months. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh shoot. When I first started selling cars, my whole objective was to make $1,200 take home. I was like, if I can make that, then that's what I was making in my other job. My first check was like $1,400. And then, it just kept going more and more from there. So yeah, that was cool. But, I'm sure everybody remembers their first car sales, right? You guys remember your first car sale?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
Yep.
my first car sale, I was three or four, like 3 months into the business. The thing with me is that I was a very shy kid. Like anyone who knows me from high school, they know that I was not a talkative kid. I wouldn't talk to you unless you talked to me. I kept to myself, and selling cars kind of started bringing the outside, the uh, what's that extrovert out of me. So um, I had a kind of a tough time dealing with customers. So for my first 3 months, every deal I got, I was very good at bringing people in, but the I would have to turn those deals because I couldn't work it very well. So 3 months goes by. I come in on my day off because I have an appointment. I work with this desk manager, and he's like a hothead. And I'm like scared to work with him because he's the type of guy where if you don't have, if you don't know what they're trying to be at, you don't know their payoff, you don't know what their trade is, you don't know what car they're interested in, you don't know, the interest rate they're expecting. If you don't have all these questions lined up for him, he's gonna blow up on you. And so I made sure I had everything in ready for them. I'm showing them they're like first time buyers. They have 4Gs down. They're looking to get in a first time buyer car. So I bring him up the deal. He's like, yeah, put him on a Dodge Journey. This is when Dodge Journeys were a thing. They were brand new. It was like the last year, the second to last year. I showed them a Dodge Journey. Um, and I get to the final, not the final step of the process, but showing them numbers. And my manager, I'm thinking he's gonna go grab a closer. He's gonna grab someone else to turn the deal, because I haven't closed the deal by myself yet. And he gives me the paper. He's like, "Are you ready to stop being a little?" And, he said the B word, and he's like, "Are you ready to close your first deal?" And I was like, "All right, then I guess it is what it is." And I brought out the deal, and I was like, this is your this is. The, I was basically I presented the pencil. This is the price of the car. This is the payment. I was stuttering. My hands were shaking. I was scared. I was really scared. I got my commitment. I went back to my to the desk manager. I gave him my deal, and he like looked at me and he smiled and he's like, "Let's fucking go. Go shake their hands." So I go over there. I shake their hand, and just that feeling of closing my first deal was crazy. But my actual first deal that I got paid on was a $10,000 front end deal.
Wow.
Yeah. So in my store at the time, we got paid. We got paid. We got paid 30%, but we got paid 20% up front. So I only got paid $1,000 for the deal because I didn't sell 8 cars, and that's how much you needed to get to 30%. Um, my friend Christian, he's gonna be on a podcast on one of these episodes. But yeah, he did the whole deal front to back. I didn't do anything. I just showed him the car, and I got paid $1,000. And I was like, dude, I was like $1,000 just to show a car. Like, let's go. You know what I mean?
Right?
Yeah. So it's $1,000 on a 2,500 Laramie truck that we dealer traded from Prestige because the salesman pissed off the customer and they didn't want to work with them. So he drove all the way down to Boulder, and we literally called them up and like, hey, can we have this? Can we have this truck? And they didn't know that we had their customer. So yeah, so I wouldn't have been able to do the deal, but my friend Christian, shout out to him. I still talk to him to this day. He's the one that actually got me started working with these guys. So we'll have him on the show. And he was pretty salty they had to split the deal because he thought I was still getting paid hourly. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so my first car sale, it's just something you don't really forget, right? But I do remember it was when it was probably still my first month. I was shadowing, and at the Toyota that I used to work at, there wasn't really much training as to like, I guess like holding your hand, right, and showing you like, all right, this is what you do, this is what you do, this is what you do. They kind of more or less gave me a list of like the steps, the 12 steps usually of the process, and they kind of told me, all right, well, just go find someone that's gonna, allow you to kind of just walk with them throughout the whole day and kind of see the process. So lucky enough, I got someone that spoke English and Spanish because at that Toyota store you did need, to learn both of them to work a good amount of customers there. So again, he was like this, very stern, just very like straightforward, Mexican. And So I remember that we were on the point. This lady came in after work, and she said, "Hey, I just need a car. I need something cheap, this payment, stuff like that." So we brought her in. We sat her down, and then he basically told me, "All right, get this car, pull it up." So I brought up a little Honda Fit. We pulled it all the way up and opened up all the doors and everything, and I mean, she fell in love with it. So it seemed like it was a pretty easy process. I was just in the back, just looking, just letting him do his thing. And the thing is that during the whole process, again, he's just a very straightforward guy. In the middle of the car sale, he actually told me, "Keep in mind, you better be paying attention because I'm not gonna be repeating myself twice." It's like he kind of wanted me out of his hair, like you don't really want to be shadowing people, You usually when you're making a car deal, you kind of want to do it by yourself. You kind of want to be in the zone and not have anyone distract you. So I was like, got it. All right. So again, I was so focused to see like what he was doing first, next, third. So, I mean, long story short, she bought the car and I was so happy. I was like, all right, so how much did we make and stuff like that? And he was like, don't keep your hopes up. Like, it was just a mini. So it wasn't much money, but again, I was still stoked because I got half a deal. And then when we were going to give her the keys, I asked for a photo. And if you knew me at 19 years old, I was this scrawny, just super young, baby-faced kid. And again, so we took that photo, and all my clothes was so baggy. And funny enough, I wore a long-sleeve white shirt, blue pants, and that whole outfit that I had, it was actually my prom fit. So again, super bad photo, but I just like looking back and just like saying like, dang, like that's where I started, But again, it was a good experience nonetheless. Yeah.
Wow. So did you retain everything the guy told you?
You know what? I'd say a good amount. Yeah, for sure. Again, he seemed like he made it seem very simple and easy. Of course, there's things that you may skip, especially when you're like talking to a customer. You may skip a step or two, but for the most part, I retained everything, and it wasn't the last time I shadowed him. He allowed me to still shadow him in other places, and even when we're making calls and stuff, he kind of let me hear like his phone calls and all that. So I did pick up some game there, but yeah, no, it was still a good experience. Yeah.
What about you? Did you shadow somebody like for a while when you started selling Elton?
I'm sorry.
Did you shadow somebody for a while when you started?
Yeah, I shadowed for
Couple
like
months, or-
like about a month, and then my next 2 months, I would just turn my deal. So I would get people. Actually, I guess I shadowed for 3 months because I would turn the deal and I would just be behind them and just see what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I just took in all the information. And selling cars isn't hard. It's a process. Yeah, you do a certain process.
If you're taught correctly,
Yeah.
it's,
And that's what I did. I just turned it and I brought it to the best people that I knew, and I was like a sponge. I just took everything in, and a lot of salespeople are not taught. You know what I mean? And I guess it sounds like everyone. Most salespeople aren't taught. We just kind of look at what they do and then kind of, I don't know, we could like figure it out. At least I did.
Yeah, no, me personally, I actually shadowed several people, and then I was taught to like just pick and choose, what works best with your style, right? Because there are salespeople that are super energetic that will run, from the car to the salesperson and everything, and then there's other ones that are just more straightforward, like this is what it is, take it or leave it kind of thing. So you just kind of have to pick apart, their process and kind of, use the ones that stick best with you,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you shadow?
No, that's why I was
Really?
asking you guys. It was different for me, man.
Yeah, you were a grown man, dude. You were.
Well, plus my first sale was I was in the BDC and they had just told me, they're like, okay, you're going to take the leads now and you're going to try and sell them yourself before you go to the new store. I'm like, okay. So I did my BDC part of getting them in. Then they wanted me to sell the car. I didn't know anything. That's why I asked if you guys shadowed. I'm like, okay, so look at, you like the car? Well, let's go inside. And the way I sold my first car was a young girl. Her name started with an S. I think it was like Sandy or Sarah. she bought a Chevy Cruze. I remember what she bought, but I just fell into it. Like I didn't know what I was doing, and it was just me by myself. And then in Connecticut, you have to get insurance for your car before you can leave.
Yeah.
So she was in front of me calling to get insurance on the car before she can go into finance and pay for the vehicle. And her insurance quote was like more than she thought, and she freaked out. And I never dealt with that before.
Yeah, I hate that.
So she was like, "Oh my God, I can't do this. I can't do this." And she just up and left. And one of the salespeople there, her name was Melody. She's like, "What happened?" I'm like, she said insurance was too much. She's like, "No, call her. We got places for insurance." I'm like, "I don't know this stuff, you know?" So I called her back, and she ended up taking the cruise. And that's technically my first sale, but I really don't count it as my first sale because I kind of fell into it.
Yeah.
I don't even remember my first sale. I remember whiffing on 8 straight at the new store and then getting a good deal. But that was my first sale pretty much. Yeah,
Nice.
different beast here compared to Connecticut is you have to register a vehicle before they leave and you pay property tax on the car. So here it's the wild, wild west, you know?
Right.
Sell them the car, you're like, here, paper plate, put it on the car whenever you can, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, Connecticut, you have to make sure they're like legal. If they owe property tax, you can't register the car. Here, it's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that well here like all we have to do is get insurance, and if they already have a established insurance policy, they just piggyback off of that. But then you got some weird customers that are like, no, I'm not leaving unless this car is insured today, you know.
Well, the good thing is most of the insurance companies don't ask for money like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Right up
yeah.
front. In Connecticut, if they're getting a new policy or if they're adding a car, sometimes they have to ask for money right up, and it screws up the deals too.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
What are some things that that you guys well, here's the thing. There's a lot of misconceptions about salespeople. You know, we get the slick what is it
Sleazy.
the sleazy car salesman.
Yep.
And like I'm not gonna lie, I mean some of it is true, but at the end of the day, there's also some salesmen that are really great, and you know it is what it is. It's we're a business, we're out to make money. We're not just gonna discount the car crazy, give you all the money for it. You know there's gonna be a middle negotiation because we gotta get paid too. And I will say this, that if you come in with a plan and you understand what you want to pay and it's not unreasonable, you're gonna get a good deal. Just do your research. That's all you need to do.
Yeah.
You know,
Simple math.
yeah. And one of the biggest misconceptions that I see, and that it's a really big pet peeve of mine that it just gets me angry, is when people are like, "Oh, I don't need to put a down payment. Down payments are illegal."
Yeah.
What? Where does that come from? It's like it's not. And just down payment in general. Like I hate when people ask me like how much money down. I'm just like, dude, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, how's your credit? And I usually just tell them like a good rule of thumb is just taxes. I took that from you actually. I don't know if you know that, but I took that from you. I'm like, yeah, just put taxes down like 2-3 G's.
Yeah.
And then I tell them, well, if your credit is like worse than that, you're probably gonna have to put maybe double. So yeah, just and also the biggest thing too is where when people think that we steal down payments, it's like no, that would be illegal. We go to jail.
For sure.
And I would have a Rolex on my wrist. Yeah.
Do that?
Yeah.
Just for the record, you don't have a Rolex on, right?
No,
All
I haven't.
right.
Not today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some misconceptions that you guys that people misunderstand about car salesmen, or some misconceptions?
Well, it's not misconceptions. It's more like they say we're the sleazy ones, but it's the customers that are the sleazy ones. Like 99 times out of 100, when I've dealt with somebody, it was them that was being sleazy, not me. You know what I mean? I don't think I've ever really been sleazy to a person. But these people come in and they'll tell you every single lie under the book. Yeah, this store's going to give me 10 grand for my car, and then you appraise it and it's worth fucking $1,500.
Yeah, I believe
You
it.
know, it's like, why lie, man? I know you went to this store and they told you it's worth $2,000. Why would you make this so much harder?
Right.
But we're the bad guys. You know what I mean? We're the liars. We're the ones that's trying to pull a fast one on them. When people come in, they tape over their check engine light, or they have a friend clear the code. They come in and we take in their car. The engine blows 2 days later, but it's our car now. Hey,
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, exactly.
And one thing I would say too is, we're if anyone's watching this and they want to work with us, we're gonna treat you with respect. We're gonna show you the car. Obviously, we're gonna show you the numbers, and then if it just goes from there. And we don't, we're not gonna do anything crazy or anything sleazy. We actually show you the itemized, the taxes, the fees, everything.
It's a
So
breakdown.
yeah, it's a breakdown. And the store that I'm at now is probably like the most honest store I've ever been at, because the last store I was at, it wasn't, that wasn't the case. You know what I mean? So every store is different. There is some stores that I'm like, damn, I don't know. How are
Pretty
they? Yeah,
sleazy.
yeah, they're pretty sleazy. I
Stores
won't lie.
overall, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but it just depends on the store, to be honest.
Like even with trade-ins here, we'll go out with a KBB breakdown. to
Yeah,
show-
we'll go
show the
out with-
customer
yeah,
exactly what
yeah.
the car's worth and why
Yeah.
we're giving them what we're giving them too.
Yeah. No, and I think it's just going back to I think that's just the biggest misconception is just, sleazy salespeople. So, I mean, I just like anyone, right? We have people coming in, probably with, being upset or a bad attitude, and it's probably because of a previous experience that they've had, right? Maybe, a salesperson didn't tell them about a certain warranty or something, and then they look at their contracts later on, right? But just keep in mind, it's just, there are going to be bad apples, right? There are going to be certain salespeople that are going to do that certain places. But I mean, I personally keep it pretty simple. I'm like, hey, totally get it. I'm sorry for whatever experience you had in the past. Let's just go through everything. If it makes sense, it makes sense. I kind of just put it on them, because at the end of the day, again, we are going to give them a great deal up front, 100%. It's just seeing, if all the numbers, work within their budget. If they like the car, if they like the numbers, there's no other reason why you wouldn't buy it. So again, if the numbers make sense, okay, let me at least show you another option, right? My job is not necessarily to, make you pay the most amount. My job is to sell you a car at a price point that you're comfortable with. It's just that plain and simple,
Yep.
Yeah. And while we're on the topic on customers, working for so many years, I'm sure we have our fair share of crazy customers. I know Jason has a customer that recently, was pretty bonkers.
Well, not recently. She's been here recently, but
yeah.
tell
So
her
how tell me about this customer.
So I recall meeting very, very vividly. So I was on the point. I was next up, and she pulled up in a beat up Hyundai, and she put the window shade up on the window, and it was cloudy out, and she sat in the car for 20 minutes before she even got out. So she got out, and I was like, okay. I talked to her. She's like, yeah, I really, really like the HRVs. I like how they look, and I'm sleeping in my car. I actually live in California, but I work here in Vegas, so I sleep in my car. So I wanted something that has room that I can sleep in. I was like, okay. So I started showing her CRVs at first, and then she's like, no, I really like the HRVs. I got my eye on this one down in Henderson, and I was thinking of going to look at it. I'm like, no, don't worry. We'll get it for you if we can get you approved on it. Just come back the next day. And the next day it was Wednesday, and we're off on Wednesday, so I was like, what the hell? I got to go in. So in the morning I get, this is a side note, I was going to get a haircut, and my phone rings, and it's one of the managers at where we work at. He's like, hey, where you at? I'm like, going to get a haircut? Why? He's like, oh, I thought you were going to get that car in Henderson. I'm like, bro, I thought we'd have to get her approved before I go pick up the car. And I'm like, I'll be there at noon. So she gets there like right around noon. She's like, yeah, I went on the Chase website and I got pre-approved for it, so we should all be good. And she got pre-approved on a CRV instead of the HRV, so the numbers were way off. We end up getting her approved in the HRV. She lied about her income. She said she made a lot of more money than she did, but we were end up getting a bank that would approve the deal. I ended up going down to Henderson. It's about a 30-minute drive there and back. So they Uber me there. I pick up the car, bring it back, and she's like, "Could I drive it?" I'm like, "Bro, you bought the car. Just finish the deal, and then you can drive it wherever you want." And I was the biggest a-hole in the world to her because I didn't let her drive the car. And supposedly, because I didn't let her drive the car, there was stuff on the car that I didn't want her to see. It's like, no, the reason why I didn't let you drive the car, the reason I didn't let you drive that car is because you owned it. But yeah, she was crazy. She ends up calling. I think it was like 2 weeks later. She took a while to call, but then the GSM, his name is, comes up to me. He's like, "Hey." I was like, "Oh." He's like, "Oh, I know." He's like, "She keeps calling. She wants to get out of that car." So I guess she eventually came back in this past week and we finally got out of her car. But 2 days of her into her new car, she was hit and the person ran.
Yeah.
Really?
And
Yeah.
unfortunately, another salesman took that customer. And
Unfortunately,
now,
unfortunately.
yeah, unfortunately for you, but unfortunately for the other person, now they have to deal with her.
This woman literally called the dealership. I counted one time, it was 151 times.
No, in one day.
No, not well. One day that would be certified. I think we could file charges for
Yeah, I was
151.
about to say.
It was. I think that was 3 months.
Yeah, that's absolutely crazy.
She gets it in her mind to call, and she'll call for like an hour straight before she finally gets to talk to who she wants to talk to.
Wow.
She sounds like Rain Man on the phone because she talks in circles.
Man, that is crazy. I
Yeah.
think crazy customer. Well, I've had people that came up to the dealership, kind of on something, and the area that Elton and I used to work around, it wasn't the, I guess, prettiest, right? So you definitely got different characters and stuff like that. But I definitely do remember this lady. She was on something. She actually came from across because we worked right across from each other, Elton and I. So she came across from his store and came into our lot, and I don't even think I was up. I think I was just walking around the service department, and that's what was closest to Elton's store. So I kind of just said hi to her, and she was like, "Hey, is that car there for sale?" And I always forget what kind of car. It was like a very high end, like supercar. I think we had at the parking lot, and I was like, "No, unfortunately, that's customers." And she was like, "Oh, okay. Well, I was just looking at a Lamborghini or something like that at Elton's store, and I just wanted to know if you guys had something like that." And it's just the way that she was looking at me, the way she was speaking, kind of fidgeting. I was just like, I don't think she's being serious with me. So I was like, no, unfortunately not. So, but feel free to walk around the lot if there's anything that that you like. Feel free to just ask any of the salesmen out here. So I kind of walk away from it, and I'm inside, and then in our BDC area where we make all the calls, it's kind of like just pure glass to where you can kind of see the front of the store. So I'm just making my calls or whatever, and I actually see her talking to a different salesperson, and same thing. I could kind of get an understanding as to how the conversation went, but it was just more about like no, I'm not gonna help you. I'm kind of brushing her off. So again, she just starts walking to our used lot, and I was gonna say lucky enough, but not really. I was out there taking pictures of a car, and she comes up to me, and at this point, she asked me for like certain cars, and again, she's on something because as she's asking me for something, at the same time, it sounds like she's having a conversation with someone else, right? It seemed like I think she said like her cousin. She was like, "Oh, don't trust him at all. He doesn't know what he's talking about." And mind you, it's only me and her. Wow. And so I was like, yeah. So again, if there's not a car that you're interested in, maybe come back around another time. So I just tried getting out of that situation as fast as I could because I was not trying to, yeah, truth be told, just like waste my time, when there wasn't really something there. But yeah, no, definitely some characters. I'm pretty sure you've came across them as well, working in that area.
Yeah, no, well, I actually just recently, well, maybe like this last year, there was this lady, me and a coworker. Well, okay, so I'm standing outside. Uh, when you sell cars, for those who don't know, Sometimes there's salesmen that stand outside and are waiting to get an up. Up is an opportunity. So usually, sometimes people come in without making an appointment. They come in and they want to look at a car, buy a car, whatever. They didn't make an appointment. They're just there. So I'm outside and this lady comes in. She's like, I'm like, hey, have you been helped? And she's like, no. I'm like, are you here to see anyone today? And they're like, yeah, I'm here to see this person. I'm like, okay, well, that person's not here, so I can help you out because it was their day off. Or they weren't there for that. I don't remember what happened, but I ended up working with this customer, and I'm there doing the deal. She's telling me what she wants. It's really reasonable. She wants a hatchback. She wants to be around like $500 a month. She has 5 Gs down. Only thing is that her credit. So we do the deal. Everything's good. The pencil is what we call when we're negotiating. We have a piece of paper and we try to like land the deal on the first try. If not, we kind of go back and forth from there. So we're waiting. We're going back and forth, and we finally close the deal. And then I go into the office. I'm like, or into the internet room, and someone's like, "Oh, you got a deal?" I was like, "Yeah, I just saw this lady." And I was like, "Dude, I think I was supposed to work with that lady." And I was like, "Really?" And it's like, "Yeah." And then this other salesman. Oh, I remember why I work with that lady. It's because she was working with another salesman on our team that she didn't like.
Mm.
So the other salesman was like, "Hey, bro, that lady's crazy, bro." I'm like, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah, I was working that deal, and then all of a sudden she started flipping on me, and she started like, she didn't do it, and then." I went home and she called me and I was on my driveway and she was talking about how I'm a sleazy car salesman and she was yelling at me
Aw.
and yada 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 and she was cussing him out. And then I'm like, dude, really? Like this lady doesn't seem like that. So whatever. I saw this lady a car. We go through the whole process. She goes out of finance, and everything is normal. Like everything's good, right? And then she comes back to the dealership, and I think she had to. She had to. We were waiting for her to sign the paperwork, and she wanted to leave to get her dog food, to get her dog some food in the pet store. She had like a coupon or something. And I was like, dude, you already left the first time. I don't want you to leave. I was honest. I was like, dude, you already left the first time. We want to secure this deal, and we're giving you an amazing deal. So it's a today only deal. If you leave, we're not gonna get you the same deal. And she got an amazing deal too. And so she ends up staying. She goes home. I deliver the car. Then she comes back the next day because I guess she had to bring a down payment or something. She had to see finance again for some reason, and she's like, "Hey, so yesterday I lost my key. Can you guys give me a replacement for it?" And I was like, I gave you your key. She's like, yeah, I know, but I had both keys in my hands yesterday, and I was doing errands, and then the way that here, let me see, we got car keys. So the way that Honda keys work. Oh, you have a Honda key now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see your key real quick. So the way that Honda keys work is that they have a key fob. I'll show it right here. And there's this square button that's very hard to press on, and she pressed it, and it got loose like that. And she lost the fob, and she only had this key tied to her chain. There you go, bro.
Yep.
Thank you. And she was like, "Yeah, can you replace that for me?" I was like, "No." I was like, "We're not gonna replace it to you because you're the one that lost it. It wasn't our fault." And she starts freaking getting angry. She starts getting emotional. She starts crying. I'm like,
Wow.
"Hey, look, like I'm sorry, I can't do anything." I was like, "Did you get the warranty that the finance probably tried to sell you?" And she was like, "No, I don't want my payment to go any higher." I was like, "Dude, I'm sorry, I can't help you. You're the one that lost it. We gave you the keys. It was in your possession. It was your fault. I didn't tell her that like that, but it is what it is." So she starts like crying. She starts like making a ruckus. She starts cussing at me. I like leave to because she also wanted a car vacuumed, and then there's this guy named Ryan, and he's like a white guy, but we have like the same cut, like we have the same like curly hair, almost mohawk cut, and he comes around there and he's like, hey, like he comes around there and the lady just starts cussing at him, thinking that it's me. And mind you, I'm brown, I'm Mexican, and she thinks that this dude is me. And Brian's just kind of looking at her like, what did I do? So I'm like, dude, yeah. So then I come back and I'm like, oh, here's your keys, your car's all cleaned up. She's like, you're awful. You didn't even put a bow on my car. You rushed the whole process. Because of you, I lost my keys. She started blaming me for losing her keys. And I was like, look, I'm sorry. I wish I could help you, but I can't. You know what I mean? It's like the key's $400-500. When I told her that, she started flipping out. She's like, 400. I was like, oh shit, I probably shouldn't have said that.
She said $4 or $5.
Yeah. Yeah, she starts cussing at everybody, bro, and then she like leaves.
Man.
Yeah, that's yeah. It just yeah, that was one of the craziest customers I've had. Um, I don't think anyone else tops her, bro.
Have you ever been scared on a test drive?
Yeah, I have. I drove. I used to work at a Dodge store, so we used to get like these. You know, we had TRXs, Scat Packs, Durango Hellcats. You know, supercharged, whatever. So I had this guy from the army who came in, and he was pretty high up there. I'm like, hey, the only way that you can test drive this car is if we run your credit, you know, because it's a $50,000-$60,000 car.
Yeah.
So he's like, okay, dude. He just let us run his credit to drive the car, and he didn't buy it.
Really?
Yeah,
He gave you
yeah,
the
he,
car after.
yeah. And we
His credit was good enough to buy.
dude. He was at
Obviously?
800 score, dude, and he didn't buy it. Yeah, he just wanted to test drive it.
People are nuts, huh?
Yeah, so we're on the highway, and he's going like 150 miles an hour on the highway.
Wait.
Dude, I'm scared. I'm thinking I'm gonna die. I don't know if you guys ever been in a car like that, but when you're driving that fast, the car just shifts super fast. It shifts crazy. Yeah, and so that was like the first time I got really scared. The second time I got really scared was I had a realtor. These people who owned a realtor company, they were looking at a car for his son, a TRX, and the son drove normal, right? He stepped on it every now and then, whatever. And then the mom drove in, dude. She started driving crazy. I thought she was gonna tip over the truck. Same thing on the highway, 120 miles an hour.
Well, they got to get up to moving speed. That's
Yeah.
typical here in Vegas.
Yeah, I was like, dude, that was only the scariest time I've been there. Yeah.
What
Have
about you?
No, so
You got lucky then, huh? Lucky you.
so here I think this lady was also probably one of my crazy customers. Just cause this lady again, kind of same thing. She was on something, right? But it was closer to the end of the month, so like any customer I get, I'm trying to put them through the process, see if they can
You're
buy.
overlooking
right?
everything because it's the
Yes,
end of the month.
dude, yes, yes. You're just trying to get the units out. So this lady comes in again, very very rough credit, but she's looking at a super small car. Truth be told, it's probably like another Honda Fit. It was
Okay.
like a red one. So I put on that car. We go through the process, show her numbers, run credit, and she needs to prove everything. So I think she only had like this gym ID, like from her gym membership. So we're like, no, we need a real ID or driver license. She needed proof of income, proof of where she lives. So again, she's telling me like, oh, I can't get my proof of income, or I have a utility bill, but it's at home. So I'm like, all right, I'll drive you to your house, because mind you, she came in walking. So I'm like, I'll take you to your house. And the address that she gave us on the credit app wasn't the place that I was taking her to.
Uh-oh.
So again, probably me just overlooking everything. And she
course.
was like, yeah, it's at my mom's house or whatever. So I'm like, all right, whatever, let's hop in. So I drive her to the place that she gives me, and it's at a trailer park. So I drive in, and she's like, yeah, I live in this one, so just park right here. So, and I'm pretty sure you guys been in trailer parks, right? It's not the most wide, the most widest like streets, right? It's pretty narrow.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right. So I kind of pull up to the right side. She's telling me that she's gonna be in this trailer on the right. She gets out. I kid you not, she crosses the little intersection and she goes to a whole different trailer, dude. So at this point, I'm like, all right, like, what is going on here? So I'm like, kind of like just keeping an eye out. I decide to pop a U and just like make the car face the exit. And she's taking a minute, actually. She's, probably like 15, 20 minutes in there, but it felt like a lifetime, just waiting for her. At the end of it all, she said that she has the things that she needs. So, I we basically drive back, but that was the scariest part when it came to the test drive, just waiting for her at a trailer park at an address she didn't give on the credit app. So I remember too, I was in contact with my finance manager, and I actually sent him the address that she gave me or that we drove to.
Yeah.
So like, if anything happens, he knows where I'm at. So we actually come back. I give all the proof of income and where she lives, everything to my finance manager. And again, it's one of the last days of the month, so it's pretty busy. You can wait, 2 or 3 hours just to even, talk to a finance manager to have all the paperwork done. So she's waiting at a couch, and I think only like 20 or 30 minutes go by after, we come back to the dealership,
Yeah.
and she is knocked out. I'm talking knocked out to where like any noise that anyone makes around her is not waking her up. And so the finance manager is ready. He's like, dude, like, your customer, she's on something. And so I was like,
she's
no,
probably
I
coked
guess
up.
she's just tired. So I kind of like, nudge at her, like, hey, the finance manager's ready. You could go into his office. And like 20 minutes go by, they're done with paperwork. And she actually leaves with the vehicle happy. Like when she's taking, the keys of her car and she's going to drive off, she's happy. She's, ecstatic. And the finance manager kind of pulls me aside and he's like, dude, she was falling asleep while she was signing. She was literally like nodding off. And I was like, no way. Long story short, a week later, and my manager actually tells me that that wasn't her credit, that she actually stole identity. So I was like, no way. So,
Yeah.
And she got away with it.
so many red flags.
She was on that fence.
Dude, yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
she
I think
was.
She was
so.
on something.
And long story short, we got a phone call from someone else saying, like, hey, I never bought a car there. I don't even live there. What's going on?
Yeah.
And
crazy.
crazy. But yeah, that was probably one of my craziest customers and one of the scariest test drives I've ever taken.
Damn. All right, so we're getting to that hour and 7 minute mark. So we're gonna have to end it here. To anyone that listened all the way through, thank you. We're gonna end it. We're gonna have episode 2, probably in 2 weeks from now. But yeah,
So
thank you for listening.
sweet. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.